The free trade fallacy. Yeah, I'm harping on free trade, and I don't care. I'll be the last person on my own YouTube channel, I guess, because people say, "Would you get off the free trade stuff, the tariffs?" I'm telling you, man, we've been sold the myth, sold the bill of goods, and we got to correct the shit before it's too late. All right, so let me just share with you something here. Over at Political Calculations, and I don't know if they're free traders or not. They seem to be moderately conservative, but they posted this graph. You guys crossing or what, man? About the median household income, the real median household income. And I've talked about this a number of times in this century. Is grown by basically 0.25%, 0.3% or something like that above inflation. Real means above inflation. Now, people say, hey, they're keeping up with inflation and a little bit of increase as well. Yeah. But what people won't say is that how many people does it take now to afford the median household income to keep up with inflation? This is what drives me up the wall, because I fell for this stuff for years, dude. For years. I got my Bachelor of Economics and from George Mason, the Austrian free trade place. I mean, that's where freaking James Buchanan was. That's where we had just tons of Austrians, economists there, whatnot. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I did. I went to the Institute for Humane Studies. We had a program over the summer in 92, 93, something like that. And I met all kinds of people of Austrian economists and whatnot. It was a blast. I donate to the Mises Institute here in Auburn, Alabama. I mean, all this stuff is good, but they're wrong on this. They just are. The simple facts are free trade was supposed to free us from having to do laborious work, and now we could offshore that and buy things that before we had to work hard to afford. And it's true. The problem is we've priced ourselves out of our own country. This is just a single employee cannot work to maintain a household the way he could before. Now we need two people to maintain that household. So to keep up with the inflation amount, whoa, fire truck. That's just in Starbucks just a second ago when some kid saw a fire truck walking by, goes, "Fire truck!" It was so cute. Anyway, so what used to take one income to afford the things of the day, which included a house, by the way, a car, send your kids to college, all this stuff. Now, we weren't living lap of luxury. TVs cost a lot compared to what they do today. I grant you, there's no such thing as really computers back then. We had one phone. We now have dozens of phones now. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have cable back then. I mean, I get it. We didn't have multiple cars. There were things that we didn't have a lot of meat. This is just me growing up. We didn't have a car. We didn't have a TV until I was like 7 years old. We certainly didn't have cable until I was like 14, something like that. We hardly ever ate meat. There were trade-offs. But the facts were we had in my family, hardly one income because my dad was, I don't know what the hell he did for work. But anyway, long story short, most families, I think it's true. Most families, if you look at the numbers in terms of the number of households and how many women were in the workforce, were not the majority. So most families had one income, and yet they had a house, they had a car, they had one TV, they had one phone, and the woman stayed home to raise the kids and make the dinner. And the kids were healthy. They were eating good homemade stuff. And then they sold us a bill of goods on margarine, better than butter. The whole thing's just such a clown show. But anyway, at the end of the day, we went on this free trade experiment. So now we got cheaper phones. We got cheap textiles, i.e. tennis shoes and whatnot. We got cheap computers. It's great. But the cost of the necessities, a car, a home, a lot more expensive. So if we want these things, one income isn't going to do it unless the husband is making pretty good money. And if the husband isn't making pretty good money, the wife is going to go back to work or go to work. And what does that do for household formation in terms of raising kids? It drops the fertility rate down, which is exactly what I just said in my previous video, what the Marxists want. They don't want household formation. They want the women to be relying on the state, because the state will say, hey, they've done a great job. Anyway, so free trade is supposed to free us from all of these things where we can enjoy our comparative advantage. Well, the comparative advantage means having your women in the workforce That's great. Having more expensive costs to raise your children, that's great. Having more expensive costs of a car to get back and forth to work, that's great. Having more expensive costs for your house, that's great. Having less equity, even if you have a house, having more rental that you have to pay rent for a longer term, which means you're having less term to draw equity. And it's just such a clown show. And now basically you have to essentially be a somewhat affluent person to raise kids now. So free trade really served us well. It's such a fallacy. It's such a friggin' fallacy, because they just look at median household income and they'll say, look, median household income is growing with inflation plus a little bit. Yeah, but how many people does it take to get that median household compared to the past? Such a scam. All right, and I fell for it. You fell for it. My job here, because I don't have many liberals on this website, on my YouTube channel, my job is to get the conservatives to recognize the fallacy as free trade. That's what I feel right now. No, I'm going to talk other stuff too, but well, I'm on this little kick because we got the party in charge now. Republicans control both houses of the Congress, Senate and the House of Representatives. The Republicans control the majority of the governorships. The Republicans control the presidency, obviously. It's time to revisit this free trade thing. It's going to come from bottom up, dude. It's going to come from bottom up, just like it's time for us to revisit immigration, which we did, and we turned the Republican Party on its side when we did that. Remember, Republican Party in 2013 was advocating being more liberal on immigration. They said, we got to be liberal on immigration, else we'll never appeal to the Hispanics. And then came the guy from Virginia's delegation, Eric Cantor, and he lost in his 2014 primary to economist professors, I don't know, like Radford University or something like that. I can't remember the guy's name. What the hell was his name? I cannot remember. It's like a 4 or 5 letter name. Dave Bratt. Dave Bratt won on advocating restrictions on immigration. Eric Cantor, who is like the third most powerful person in Congress, was promoting increasing immigration. Cantor lost a stunning upset in the 2014 primary, almost like AOC did when she beat her clown guy in New York. That made the Democrats go crazy left, and that made the Republicans revisit its stance on immigration. Trump winning has made, and advocating for tariffs is going to make the Republicans advocate or revisit their stance on free trade. I'm just telling you right now. But it comes from the bottom up. It never comes from the top down. And so you better, in my opinion, you need to join me in advocating for a revisit of this mantra of free trade always and everywhere, because it's a clown show, dude. It hasn't done what it's supposed to do, which is make it easier for family formation, easier to afford things. It just hasn't done it. The proof is in the pudding. Does that mean restrictions are always going to be good? No, I don't think so at all. Fair trade, not free trade. And as such, fair trade means, hey, man, we might pay more for things like computers. We might pay more for things like cell phones. And I'm not even saying we will, but we might. But as long as that brings back jobs that people can do here, and that we think to have a one-income family to some regard, we'll probably never go back to 100% the way it was. But more people can afford a home. More people can afford a job because their wages are going up on just one income. That's the model we should be pushing for sure. All right, God bless. Love your thoughts. We'll see you.